Alright guys, so video number 7 in the Hasbro Marvel Legends series Avengers Wave 3 or Avengers Endgame armored Thanos Build-A-Figure. Next up we have Hercules. Now I kept Hercules last in this review because chances are you may have already seen a review of him as some of these figures, actually Nighthawk too, but some of these figures somehow made it onto eBay loose. And a few people were able to pick him up. Now, I don't know really the story of what was behind that. I did think it was odd that some of the seller, the one seller in particular that I saw that had it, does sell bootleg figures or KO figures, whatever you want to call them, but the unofficial releases, and you know, I don't know the full story behind that, what factory's doing it, or how it's getting worked out, but when you find a Pizza Spidey figure for under $20, and we know that that's kind of what's going on, as well as some other figures, you know, when they had like the Ronan the Accuser that came up again, Crossbones, I think that same seller sold those figures as well. But again, I don't really know the whole story surrounding it, so I don't know kind of how that worked out, but some people did get that Hercules figure ahead of time, and here, now we have it in this wave, and he comes with the head for the Thanos Build-A-Figure. So really cool. I really like the logo that they use here because he gets his own special packaging. And then because Hercules was on the Avengers team, he does get an Avengers logo up at the top there like the other Avengers did as well. On the side package, we get some awesome looking artwork of Hercules, and I believe this is a modern look to Hercules. And then here we have the rest of the figures in the wave, and the bio reads, Marvel's Hercules, an immortal champion of Olympus, Hercules uses his immense strength to battle evil and protect the world. So pretty cool. I'm excited to get this one open. This one is probably my third favorite figure in the wave, which is crazy because there are 3 movie figures. So 1 movie figure is getting bumped for this figure, and you guys could probably already, you know, guess which one it is. But anyway, let's get right to it. I'm also going to compare this guy to Ares because obviously the two go hand in hand, Hercules and Ares, the Greek gods. So we'll kind of take a look at that comparison as well. I don't have the earlier Hercules release to compare that figure, unfortunately, but we'll take a look at this one. Alright, and here is the Hercules figure out of the package, and I must say, this is a very, very, very good figure. I am very happy to have this. Now, I'm not super familiar with Hercules in the comics. I know he has a big, deep history. I know a little bit about the Greek mythology Hercules and whatnot, but I don't know a huge amount. Now, the comics that I did read that Hercules was a part of was actually, what was it? I think it was the Spider-Man 2099. I think it was during the Secret Wars. But Hercules himself was actually in the year 2099 in that universe during the Secret Wars. And he was part of the Avengers team there. And it is the same Hercules because he's a god, you know, and can live for however long. He's immortal, right? So he can live forever. So it was the same Hercules in that storyline, and it was a very interesting read at the time. I was very into all the sides, a lot of the side storylines, not all of them, the tie-ins during Secret Wars a couple years ago, but that one I did read, and he was in it. So here we have him next to Ares, and you can see Ares towers over him. Now I hear that Hercules should actually be as tall, if not taller, than Ares, and that the reason for this is because this figure is just oversized. Hercules is a great size. It's a very bulky figure, but this guy is just a little too big, unfortunately. But it is a very good looking figure. You know, even though they updated, it's still a little wonky articulation and whatnot, but pretty interesting. So now that we have that out of the way, we'll get Ares out of here, and then we will go over this Hercules figure. So pretty cool. We'll take a look, close look at the accessories here in a second, but let's go through the articulation first because it is a brand new body mold. So really cool. So the head can look. He's a little stiff, but he can look down. He can go all the way back, even a little too far back if you ask me, because you could see the deep hinge in the back of the neck. And as we get close up into the figure, I'll show you how that looks. We have these huge shoulder ball joints that go out that far. There you get a full rotation. Of course, there is an upper bicep swivel. We get a double jointed elbow, which gives us about a 90-degree bend. It's just because his muscles are too big and kind of get in the way. In fact, as we look close, you'll see a weird cut into the arm there. It just kind of looks funky unless you have his arms kind of already bent in, then it makes sense. Now his ab crunch there, it works, but it's limited by his harness that he's wearing here. And then as you can see, as you crunch down, that's going to kind of go up into his face. It can go back that far, and yes, that is removable. Before we kind of get to that later, we get a waist swivel in there. Legs go out that far apart. There is an upper thigh cut there. We get a good double jointed knee that works great. I like that. There is a boot swivel there as well. And then the hinge goes all the way down, all the way up, and we get a solid ankle pivot in there. So really good articulation here. And I forgot to mention that we get the wrists swivel and they do hinge as well. So good stuff there. Now let's take a quick look at the accessories. Okay guys, so here's a close look at the weapons and accessories that Hercules comes with. So here we have the Thanos Build-A-Figure head, so we'll get that off to the side. And it does look very similar to the 3-pack Thanos, but it is obviously a different head because they couldn't just throw a helmet on there. So we get this axe. It's a 3-bladed axe. I'm not sure if there's a specific name for it on what it is, but it does look very good. So I like the blade portion of it. It's a little dull. A nice shine to it, or metallic probably would have been a little bit nice, but I like that they put in scratches and gashes into the blades themselves, so it looks like it's, you know, it's seen its fair share of battle. What I don't like about this figure though is the handle is very shiny. If you look at that brown, they use a very shiny gloss brown, and then the bottom handle they use a gloss gray. If I can get that. So I don't like that it's so shiny. You would think that these would be a very dull color and kind of worn instead of a very shiny color. So that's a bit odd. So here we have his sword. The blade is nice. Again, they put gashes into the blade to show the damage to it. It is good. It's better than, definitely better than the one Citizen V comes with. Although I would have liked a nice shinier metallic silver paint on it. But it does look good. The handle is done in a nice satin gold color, so it's not too shiny, which I do like. And it's got a nice sculpt to it, and again, it looks like it's got a lot of damage and nicks and cuts into the handle, but I do like the way that it came out. It looks very good. And then here we have 2 additional interchangeable hands that he can use to hold his weapons, because the figure right out of the package has both fisted hands. So we get these nice ones to hold the weapons. Okay, now let's take a look at the figure. Alright, so here's a closer look at the Hercules figure, and this is an awesome looking figure. I think Hasbro absolutely killed the head sculpt on this guy. It looks so good, and is one of the best comic figure head sculpts I've seen or can even recall. It looks great, and it's not even with the digital face print technology that they have. It looks absolutely fantastic. Now, one minor complaint, and this is just probably going to be on my figure and not necessarily all of them, is that we got a little bit of the skin tone coming through on his goatee. Now, could that be because, or beard actually, but could that be because it's mine and it's just got some missing paint throughout, or is that a QC issue? That I don't know. It doesn't look terrible far away, but if you get it close, you can kind of see it, and you kind of see some of that skin tone come through, so it is kind of a little tough, and you do actually see a little speck right there, but it's not so bad. His eyes are a bright blue, and they came out looking pretty clean. Get a little bit of pivot in there as well, and then he also has a nice little man bun up at the top. Now this headpiece is actually kind of a separate piece glued onto the figure. This side comes off a little bit more, and you can actually see they painted throughout the beard. It's funny, that's solid brown paint throughout the hair of the beard there when it's getting covered, but you know, on the exposed parts it's not, which I guess would make sense over time due to wear, but you know, straight out of the package it should be a different story. The hair is sculpted quite nice as well. He's got those flowing locks. There's a meme going around of this figure. Kaiju Blocks, Alvin, if you go and if you follow him on Instagram, he probably has it on Instagram, but on Facebook he's posted it, something about how you doing baby cakes or something. It's a funny meme if you haven't seen it, but it's just funny. I thought I'd bring that up. He has chest hair painted throughout the torso, which I really like. This is the kind of thing that I wish they would have done for the Wolverine figures, to do that kind of speckled paint for hair on his arms would be perfect for a Wolverine figure, but unfortunately that's something that we don't get. But the sculpt of all of this harness and everything is nice. We get some silver paint in there. For the most part, brown for the buckles, or not for the buckles, but for the straps. Some green. Actually, a little bit of sloppy paint of the brown back here. You know, they didn't do the best job with the brown over the green, but it's not terrible. It would have been nice to get these sides painted brown instead of green, so that green's exposed. It looks kind of funny. I mean, they hit it there, so it's just a little bit of sloppy paint, unfortunately. We get some gold right here on this belt buckle. Looks like there's a lion design on there. That looks good. We get a little bit of green in those cracks, so that's pretty nice. The pouches are all green. There's no additional paint to them at all. Now, one thing on the legs is this light orange or tan color. Some of the darker brown underneath is bleeding through, especially here. It's a little sloppy. So it would have been nice if we got another deco hit of that light brown color onto the legs to kind of cover that up. But it's not terrible. The knees just have a dark gray color for the knee pads. Here on his boots, we get some gray straps. There's no additional color or paint on there at all. And then his boots are just a gray and brown. But the sculpt of it is nice, and we get a lot of creases and little scratches and stuff throughout the boots. So some good sculpting, texture and detail that they threw on there. So that's pretty nice. He has the sheath so he can hold the weapons on the back of the figure. So here you can see, you kind of have to really force that. Force that to go through. But it holds quite nicely, and I think, actually, it doesn't even show it on the back of the package, but it sits in there. But you could do it, you have to force it in, which is kind of odd. It doesn't come out so easily as well. And no missing paint or anything, so that's a good sign. And then the sheath for the sword just goes in. And you kind of have to force that in there too, and then it just kind of rests in there. So I'd say that's about normal, but as I try and force this back in there. So it's a good, nice, tight fit, so that's a good thing. And it doesn't seem to want to go back in at all. There we go. So it's nice that he has somewhere to store his weapon, so I like that they included that. These wrist gauntlet pieces, or the armor, those bracelets are floating, so those can be removed if you pop the hands off, which we'll do to switch out the hands. You can see you can actually take them off. They are removable. Okay. Hands switch out very easily. You just pull them off, pop the new ones on, and then, you know, if he needs his weapons, you can put them on there. Now, the tough thing is these hands are pretty close. So in order to get him to hold these weapons, you're really going to have to work the hand to get around the handle. And actually, surprisingly, it's a lot easier than a lot of them have been in the past. So that's good. Let's get the axe out. and you can work it in there, and he can have his weapons. So there it is. Now, one thing that I didn't show is this this belt and harness piece is removable. So you can see right there on the side, it just clips on and off. So you could take it and you can remove it. So let's just pop his head off to make it a little bit easier. And then pop the head back on, and then you have Hercules like so. And that looks pretty good like that as well. And they actually put the chest hair and goes all the way down. So nice detail, even though most of it was covered with this. So pretty cool. This is definitely a great figure, which I highly recommend. I think this one will probably be a little bit tough to find out in stores. And, you know, we have these 3 comic figures over here that are probably going to peg warm, especially that Nighthawk. This one I think will be tough to find, kind of like the Ares was. So it is a great figure, and I do highly recommend it. If you guys have any questions, let me know down in the comments below. Hit that thumbs up if you guys liked the video. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. And as always, thank you for watching. Stay tuned, because the next video is the Thanos Build-A-Figure. And I know you guys have been waiting so long for it. Lots of comments saying, when's it going to come up? When's it going to come up? Soon. Getting there. Just one step closer.